I actually did a little bit of arena grinding off camera, but that's really not important now. Okay, this situation is very, very bad, and there are two approaches you can take to this. One, kill Eltosain. This is definitely not the best, because as you've seen there, he has insane stats, a legendary weapon, which gives him the critical skill and a high critical hit rate, and 5-star leadership. Yes, you did read that might. That weapon has 30 mights. To put that in perspective, even the best swords have no more than 15. Add to that is the fact that the Cross Knights are also happen to be some of the best generic enemies in the game, and benefit from Eltosain's 5-star leadership, which, if you don't know, means a 40% boost to accuracy and evasion, which is something you really don't want. They also all have javelins. So of course, yeah, it's not the best thing to do that. There is another way you can deal with him, and as you might have guessed, it involves Lachesis. If she isn't promoted by now, you're in for some serious trouble. Like, really, really serious. It's best to let these guys come to you. Because do not, under any circumstances, get into his range. Anyone who gets into his range will most likely die. Trust me, I've tried using Lex to lure him. He got criticaled and killed in one hit. Now, at this point, I'd actually recommend anyone who's playing this to save to a different file slot. And yeah, don't save back to your original slot until you're absolutely sure you're safe here. Just, of course, it's safe to put Lachesis in his range, because obviously, he won't attack her. Of course, his soldiers will, by all means, attack her. If you can bait them into attacking a strong ranged attacker, preferably Levin, that's good, but not even he can take on this many guys with 5-star leadership. Plus, they're actually quite a bit smarter than most generic enemies too. If you have a vulnerable character within range of their javelins, like Sylvia, they will go for her. I just used the return ring to quickly get Sigurd back to the castle. That's a good strategy here. You can do the same thing with the return staff, but I think Sigurd in general really does benefit from the return ring. And here they come. Of course, they have no problems with attacking their commander's sister. I'm not sure if that accuracy displayed on the combat screen includes the leadership bonus or not. Actually, they're out of his leadership range anyway, but still, if someone could confirm for me that, I'd appreciate it. Unfortunately, you never get anyone with 5-star leadership. You do get a certain character who has 5-star leadership as an enemy, but doesn't have it for you. But that's another matter entirely. You really don't want to be taking too much damage from these guys, because very soon we're going to have to find our way through them. And this conversation's triggered when Sigurd gets within a certain distance of Eltosain. Very similar to the one that happens between Marth and Camus, I think, in Shadow Dragon. I'm pretty sure that's triggered by just moving him close to him. The Mistletoe has a rather interesting mythological basis behind it. It's actually named after the Norse term for mistletoe. There was a legend of a Norse god who was killed by mistletoe. Apparently that's where it gets its name from. Interesting bit of trivia there. And yes, these guys are fast enough to avoid being doubled by Finn. He's almost ready to promote, though. Yeah, now, highly recommend if you have Sylvia here, because you're going to need to kill a lot. Okay, enough of these guys so that Lachesis can get through. If she's not promoted, then you'll need to wait till he gets a bit closer. If she's not promoted, I'd advise just staying close to the castle and not leaving until he gets really close. And as always, yes, always remember that anyone who goes into Eltosain's attack range will most likely die. Now this is something I learned from trial and error. Lachesis can actually talk to him after she's attacked someone else. She just has to make sure her movement takes her next to him, and this conversation happens. I just realised a little while ago that she's basically giving him a friendship speech here. Although I don't think Shagall withdrawing is pretty likely, because he just so happens to be a generic villain. But at least that's true. Eltosain does hold a very high position. And you actually get an item out of this too. I'll talk more about the Earth Sword later. It's a pretty unique sword. So, Lachesis talking to him, yeah, causes him to leave the battle. Much better than fighting him, anyway. And of course, Shagall is still going on with his generic villain ways. And yes, if you were hoping he'd become an ally, I'm sorry to say that either way, he dies. Yeah. A lot darker than you considerably expect from a situation like this. Shagall basically just had him executed. Nothing could possibly survive that. That would have been 10 attacks if he had more HP. Now, yeah, that Earth Sword, Lachesis got, is basically, in all effects, it's very, very similar to the Rune Sword that features in the Fire Emblem 7 onwards, I'm pretty sure. I think it might have been in 6 as well, but I'm pretty sure it was unobtainable in that one. Basically, it's a magical sword that can attack from close and long range and restores your HP whenever you damage an enemy with it. Unfortunately, it only has 10 uses, but really that's probably for balancing reasons, because, well, if it had 50 uses, she'd be practically invincible with it. And now that I just realised, Earth Sword, Thief Sword, Prayer Sword, Lachesis sure does have a lot of special swords. So basically that's the option you should try to do. Not that it's not impossible to kill Eltosain, I've actually done it, but it's very, very difficult to do it without anyone dying. Of course, you still have to get through the Cross Knights though, and that's a problem in itself.